We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators.
Look, I would take
her over it. That's horrible that we have to do that.
I could never vote for Newsom. I just can't. I would just say that his leadership in California is good reason to brush him off for the loser that he really is.
Something bizarre just went down on live TV. Gavin Newsom walked in with swagger and walked out like he'd been blindsided by a sarcasm truck. Charlie Kirk didn't blink. Greg Gutfeld didn't pull a punch. And somewhere in the chaos, Newsom's talking points combusted on impact. Was it a debate? A roast? Or just two guys casually dismantling a governor's ego with facts and dry humor? Whatever it was, you need to see how this train wreck unfolded.
Your car's gonna get broken into, okay? You're gonna get robbed.
Nope.
Using taxpayer money, funneling it to nonprofits so they can literally buy crack pipes and hand them out at Skid Row. There's video evidence of that. Paying incredibly high taxes that go to what? So yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And honestly, just experiencing what I've seen on the ground in California has made me question a lot about left-wing ideas.
Before we dive in, smash that like button and hit subscribe because this one's brutal. He came armed with talking points, a spray tan, and a smirk that looked fresh off a shampoo commercial. Gavin Newsom didn't just walk in. He glided. Hair locked in place, teeth whiter than a Whole Foods parking lot, and hand gestures so dramatic you'd think he was auditioning to be a magician.
In 2014, voters in California overwhelmingly supported a ballot measure to support building more reservoirs in the state in order to bulk up our water infrastructure because we live in a drought-prone state. That passed in 2014. Funding was attached to it. You want to know how many reservoirs have been built since 2014? Zero. This state is an utter joke because of the people who are governing it. Gavin Newsom right now is at the top of that.
There he was, California's golden boy. Gavin Newsom delivering a TED Talk powered by buzzwords and ego. He wasn't there to answer questions. He was there to perform. Lines polished smoother than summer stock theater. And enough arrogance to power every Tesla in San Francisco. You could practically hear the internal script. Smile, say equity, blame red states, toss hair, repeat, boom, leadership.
This is what I was surprised about. I did not expect Donald Trump to flip 10 counties in California from blue to red. But I guess I shouldn't have been surprised about that either. Because when you look at the conditions that people are living in a Democrat-controlled state, well, yeah, you can understand why people are turning their backs on the Democratic Party. You can understand why people are frustrated at the corruption, at the loss of $24 billion that was allocated to help the homeless, when homelessness only exploded during that time, and that money is now unaccounted.
The stakes were high. Yet Gavin Newsom walked in like he was giving a presentation, not defending a state drowning in blackouts, tent cities, and gas prices that require a loan officer. His strategy: dodge, deflect, dazzle, then toss a few cheap shots at Texas and Florida while pretending California isn't being robbed blind by reality.
What would a President Newsom candidacy look like in a general election, not just pandering to the left?
Yeah, good question. He would sell out the American people to corporate interests, just like he did with PG&E, starting fires and destroying countless Californians' lives as a result of that. He bailed them out. He totally bailed them out. He has provided protection for them, even though they absolutely refused to update their century-year-old equipment, which everyone knew was going to lead to devastating wildfires.
In Gavin Newsom's world, everything is either bold, progressive, or somehow not his fault. But when the stage lights hit, highlighting his cheekbones, in stepped Charlie Kirk. Buttoned up, data loaded, silent but sharp, ready to swing statistical daggers. Charlie Kirk wasn't there for glamour. He came with receipts.
Gavin Newsom, in every single interview I've seen him do, has passed the buck, even though he is the governor of this state. He is pathetic. He's a snake. He's like the slimiest Democratic politician, especially on a local level. But what we have seen is mismanagement of epic proportions, and the mere existence, and it is real, the existence of climate change should not be utilized as a talking point in order to pass the buck, in order to deflect blame, in order to refuse to take any personal responsibility for how poorly this state has been governed for several...
No theatrics, no drama, just Charlie Kirk. Calm, calculated, like that kid in class who ruins your excuses by pulling out the actual assignment. The contrast was brutal. Gavin Newsom gleamed with stage polish while Charlie Kirk radiated Excel sheet fire. Gavin Newsom downplayed California's crime problem. Charlie Kirk blinked, then calmly dropped stats. Theft up, cops retiring, businesses fleeing. Education. Gavin Newsom chanted equity and creativity. Charlie Kirk countered with literacy scores. Despite billions spent and free laptops, California's fourth graders still can't read at grade level. While Florida, the state Gavin Newsom loves to mock, quietly leads in both math and reading.
I curse. I don't know if I can.
Please,
Okay.
you must. It's a necessity.
So, Democratic establishment candidates are full of shit. And I need people to understand that. And we need to get out of this like vicious pendulum swing cycle where we go from one terrible administration to another terrible administration. They just have different branding. But in the end, they do nothing for ordinary people. And that's what people are hungry for. I think that's part of what explains the popularity of Zohran Mamdani in this mayoral race.
Charlie Kirk wasn't flashy. He was surgical. Each sentence sliced through Gavin Newsom's talking points like fat-free PR snacks. Even his hair looked like it might collapse under pressure. The breaking point came on homelessness and affordability. California's twin elephants. Gavin Newsom gave his usual billion-dollar jargon. But Charlie Kirk. He pulled receipts like a tax auditor on a mission. Gavin Newsom clung to talking points like a man on a sinking lifeboat, while Charlie Kirk calmly GPS'd him through the wreckage of his own failures. Recalculating, straight into the lake.
A native Angelino. I was born and raised in California. I love my state. I love the people in the state. But it is an absolute wasteland right now. Every freeway bridge is full of people living in tents. There's excrement on our sidewalks. It's unsafe. Crime has gone up. And when it comes to coronavirus, I mean, the fish rots from the head down. Let me just mention.
Again. Charlie Kirk didn't go flamboyant. He went accurate. Every word shredded Gavin Newsom's spin. When homelessness came up, Gavin Newsom threw out buzzwords and expensive schemes that produced more tents, not fewer. Charlie Kirk responded like an auditor with a grudge, pinning him down with hard facts. Gavin Newsom clung to his lines. Charlie Kirk kept rerouting him back to reality. Recalculating. As Gavin Newsom drove deeper into denial.
Oh, I'm sure he really does find it funny. He's not bothered by it at all. You just heard the bitter statements of a snake who unfortunately serves as the governor of California. Some like to refer to him as Gavin Newsom. I like to refer to him as a smarmy failure of a politician out of the state that I was born and raised in. Nonetheless, Gavin Newsom was fighting hard to be the guy who stepped in to replace Joe Biden if he dropped out of the race.
But just when Gavin Newsom was barely holding on, Greg Gutfeld entered like a comedic kamikaze. He opened by sarcastically applauding Gavin Newsom's global leadership, so steeped in irony it needed a towel. Sure, Gavin Newsom looked polished, but Greg Gutfeld quipped that his policies seemed designed by raccoons on energy drinks. He mocked his flashy pressers as Oscar trailers, while San Francisco looked like a low-budget zombie film. "We're reducing crime," Gavin Newsom said. Greg Gutfeld shot back, by redefining it entirely. If no one reports the heist, did it even happen? Brutal. And the more Gavin Newsom tried to play it cool, the hotter Greg Gutfeld turned up the flames.
He's so cool and relatable in his genes. And but like between Cuomo and Newsom, these are actually two really good examples of people who represent the Democratic Party establishment who have not fully reckoned with their unpopularity during the COVID crisis and are now sort of trying to be, as powerful as they were before without, I don't know, maybe actually even being seriously introspective as opposed to whatever the hell that was.
You're absolutely right, okay, in your analysis. And let me just say, you know that I like you when I'm willing to sit through a podcast episode featuring Gavin Newsom just to prepare, for this. Okay, I can't stand him. I can't stand his raspy voice. And it's not for any superficial reason other than the fact that I live in California. Mm-hmm. I've had the displeasure of experiencing what his leadership actually...
The punchlines came fast. California's budget. Like carrying soup in a colander. Reverse gentrification. Where the rich flee, and Whole Foods becomes a bunker. Hollywood. Greg Gutfeld torched the hypocrisy of elites preaching justice from Beverly Hills while stepping over syringes to get to their Teslas. He dubbed it a yacht-class revolution. Social justice that only counts if it comes with organic catering and a Netflix crew. Gavin Newsom's press conferences. Greg Gutfeld said they looked like Grey's Anatomy. Dramatic lighting, slow pans, and enough hair gel to fuel Jersey Shore. The power might be out, Greg Gutfeld cracked, but at least Gavin's cheekbones are glowing. And with that, the armor started to crack.
Mention that while Americans are encouraged to shelter in place, encouraged to practice social distancing, no eating indoors at restaurants, he was seen at the French Laundry meeting up with his lobbyist buddies. That is unacceptable. I have not seen competent leadership from Gavin Newsom, and I will state on this show, every single member of my family signed our names, provided our signatures.
Up until now, Gavin Newsom had kept his usual polished composure, but now he panicked. He raised his voice, interrupted, pivoted like a broken GPS. Equity, sustainability, long-term vision, buzzwords flying like glitter at a pride parade. But nothing stuck. Charlie Kirk, still calm, leaned in with a new stack of stats, like the quiet student reminding the teacher they forgot to assign homework. Gavin Newsom tried a dig at right-wing media. It landed like a wet sponge. Greg Gutfeld faked offense, then immediately launched into a fresh bit about California's economic policy being written by failed improv students who think rent control is magic fairy dust.
And now some are noticing, look, he's not really doing the type of campaigning for Kamala Harris that he was doing for Joe Biden. What's going on here? Now, of course, we all know what's going on. Newsom was engaging in that campaigning not for Joe Biden's sake, but in order to increase his name recognition in case he found himself in a situation where he'd be tapped to replace Joe Biden after he drops out. Now, Newsom went from campaigning hard for Biden to barely campaigning at all on behalf of Kamala Harris, so much so that Democratic operatives are now questioning whether his role as a national surrogate for Harris is really something they can lean on. They're questioning if it's even...
By the end, Gavin Newsom was cooked. The audience wasn't just done. They were emotionally, ethically, spiritually gone. This wasn't a debate anymore. It was a roast, and Gavin Newsom was the headliner he never asked to be. Online it exploded. Greg Gutfeld's quips went viral. TikTok turned his jokes into memes and remixes. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk's dismantling spread across Twitter like scripture. Pundits spun Gavin Newsom as resilient under fire. Translation: he got smoked but wore nice shoes. But the damage was done. Public opinion isn't shaped by op-eds anymore. It's shaped in 15-second clips. And Greg Gutfeld's sarcasm had become gospel. The worst part: it was the combination. Charlie Kirk played chess while Greg Gutfeld played dodgeball with Gavin Newsom's credibility. One brought hard truths. The other made them hilarious. It was a 1-2 punch. Realism and ridicule. Gavin Newsom assumed vibes and camera angles would carry him. But he forgot. Looking polished isn't the same as having something polished to say. Charlie Kirk dug the hole. Greg Gutfeld danced on the coffin. And Gavin Newsom He learned the optics emperor has no clothes. And now those clothes are memes, TikToks, and auto-tuned remixes your uncle is already sharing. Next time Gavin Newsom hits the media tour, he better pack more than hair gel and buzzwords. Because when Charlie Kirk brings the scalpel and Greg Gutfeld swings the sledgehammer, you'd better come with body armor and a script not written in the back of an Uber.